all the time moving and travel to Europe, USA, Puerto Rico, but it is my first time to be in South Africa and any other African country. My talk is just about a fantastic talk about the history of mycology in ancient Egypt since pharaonic era, what we said that ancient Egyptian. So my presentation will discuss some nice point concerning biodiversity, fungi or fungi. So you need to determine the difference between fungi in capital and fungi in small letter. What do you know about Egypt? Country profile, Egypt habitats and biodiversity, why we study fungi, Egypt, the cradle of mycology, history of fungi in the ancient Egyptian, and different topics you will like at inshallah. Biodiversity, as you know, is a term related to biological diversity, and it is work on 3 levels: ecosystem biodiversity, species diversity, and genetic diversity. So all of these levels of biodiversity are integrated to each other and depend upon the method who is the scientist studying it. If you are an ecologist, environmentalist, you like to study the species, the ecosystem diversity and the species diversity. And if you have a good equipment and the molecular identification tools, you are running after genes of the organism to conserve your genetic resources all the time. Fungi, it is a major question for all of us, for you too, because there is a big difference between fungi in capitalized letter, it's a meaning here, the true fungi, and fungi in a small letter, meaning the whole package of fungi, because its fungi is distributed among 3 kingdoms. Fungi before 1969 are located under plant kingdom. And in 1970, Robert Whittaker is mentioned the fungi deserve to be a separate kingdom. So fungi in 1970 treated as a separate kingdom. All organisms related to fungi and similar to fungi treated in a separate kingdom called kingdom fungi. Later on, in 1998, Cavalier Smith is emerged a new kingdom called Chromista. So Chromista took apart from kingdom of fungi, and they called Chromistian fungal analogues beside kingdom Protozoa. Kingdom Protozoa take apart from kingdom fungi, and they called Protozoan fungal analog or slime molds. So slime molds is treated as a part of animal kingdom right now, and Oomycota is treated as a part of Chromistian fungal analogues or kingdom Chromista. So fungi distributed in 3 kingdoms out of 6 kingdoms. So fungi is extended for 50% of the kingdoms. So when you see this word written in capitalized letter, it meaning true fungi. If you see it in a small letter, it meaning the whole package, fungi and fungal alleles. So you can read that in a good way in the literature about the fungi and fungi. So indeed, Necker considers the first one all over the world treated fungi as a separate kingdom in 1783. But this is not described in a good way. He just gave indication written in French, but it is not circulated worldwide. So Necker considers the godfather of delimitation of fungi out of other kingdoms. But in 1969, Whittaker introduced fungi as a separate kingdom based on its unique criteria. So the difference between fungi and fungi in a small letter is right now is very clear to all of you. So the kingdom fungi is one of the most diverse group organism on earth. It came in the 2nd position after insect. So insect at the top of biodiversity of living organisms. After that, fungi came directly. So we are talking about the most diverse organism, because it's David Minter in UK don't like to say fungi are microorganisms. He said if it's microorganism, you can conserve it. So we talk about that all the time. So the estimate of fungi may be about 2 million and 7 million, 0.7 species. Up to now, we discovered or identified about 150,000 species of fungi, and there is a lot of fungal taxa completely hidden or never under explored due to many factors. One of them is the habitats where it's already occurred. It's hidden in some habitats. What we already know, a lost habitat looks like what already happened in Amazon forest due to fires there. It's completely remove taxa there, animal, plants, and fungi. So people is work on that to discover every year a lot of fungi, and this is a number of newly introduced species names of fungi for each decade from 1750 up to 2010, and you can find there is an increase in introducing of taxa, and during the Second World War it's completely declined due to the war, and everything is completely halted in the world. No science, no one interested to introduce anything. That is what happened right now, you know. There's a war in Russia and Ukraine. Everything is affected, not in science, even in our normal life. So pre-molecular era, there is an increase and decrease of introducing of taxa, and molecular era after 1990, there is many introducing of new species and new taxa all over the world. Even I am one of the classical mycologists. I'm use molecular for confirmation, not for identification, because it's sometimes molecular give a fake result for us. When we go to blast our sequences in gene bank, and if the data there is added by non-taxonomist, you got the first selection and you can say, yes, it's my fungus, but it is not. You need to confirm it by your phenotypic characteristic feature. Here is the accepted number of species in the dictionary of fungi, and species Fungorum, the website of my great friend Paul Kirk. He's doing a great database concerning the fungi all over the world, and you can find the gross of total cataloged number of species names of fungi by decade. So the investigation of new species and new taxa increased every year, and we need that from all of you, not from mycology, because it is not our science only, but it's mycology is work with all different specialization. What do you know about Egypt? So this is my first question to you. Where is Egypt located?
North of Africa.
North of Africa, good. We deserve that paper from Egypt for you. Yeah, good answer, yes. Second question. Is it desert or desert and other things?
Mixed.
Mixed. Mix between desert and other habitats. Good. So we have different environmental habitats. Egypt is not desert, okay? It's a desert, agricultural, and marine habitat. So on the other hand, are we still right, camels? So my camel is in front of the department right now, yes or no? So all people is imagine that Ahmed have camels and he counted them. But it is not true. So we have no camels in Egypt. It's a touristic figure, so it's for you to remember the camels. Besides that, it's just touristic figure for that touristic figure. Besides that, I will pass from Professor Marika to all of you Oriental sweets from Egypt, okay? So Egypt is about 1 million square kilometer. It's surrounded by two seas, Mediterranean Sea and Red Sea. And the majority of Egypt is agricultural soil surrounding the Nile River. And after that, we faced a big problem with gaps in knowledge, because the majority of Egyptian and scientists there treated fungi as a part of plant kingdom. And they all the time protect plants and animals and overlooked what we said fungi. So one of the gaps of knowledge related to Egyptian biodiversity is that the diversity of less conspicuous organisms such as fungi and bacteria. So we have different ecological habitats. You never imagine that is we have that in Egypt. One of them is an insect, and we have the smallest butterfly all over the world. It's called cyanine bottom blue butterfly. It's more than your nail. After that, we have different marine creators and turtles, whatever. And between them, we can find plants, animal, bacteria, fungi, mushroom. Mushroom in the desert? Yes, we have mushroom in the desert. No problem. No problem. Here, as Ahmed with mushroom in the desert. And also a lot of mushroom and even Ganoderma, plus Morchella. Oh my God, Morchella in desert. Yes, we have Morchella in desert. So the concept of Egypt is a desert is a wrong way, because we have a Nile Delta and we have our it's a Pelerotus westers in Egypt. So no problem about that. So already we have about 30 protected area in Egypt. It's cover nearly 20% of the country area. And how many species are there of fungi in Egypt? This is a big question I asked myself during during I'm finishing my PhD, but no one can answer me. So I put on my mind to start to collect all available data resources, to making a list and data concerning fungal species in Egypt. So I worked for 10 years alone to collect all valid data, and I started to shed the light and attract the light to the Egyptian mycology maybe in 2010. Why we study fungi? All of us know that this fungi is playing the most important role in our ecosystem. It is the most important role. It's decomposition. So without fungi, the most produced output of the globe is lignin. Lignin never be decomposed. So without fungi, lignin cannot be decomposed at all. After that, we have side effects of fungi on our health, causing a series of diseases, mycotoxins for our product, what we said, the deterioration of monuments, and you will see that when I'm working with the National Geographic with in Tutankhamun tomb, what we already have been done there. What is about fungi and the relationship with other organisms? Yes, we have association with algae. So we're doing a new organism called lichen. You saw it everywhere, on the trees and everywhere. Also mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza is a kind of fungi, is associated with the plant root, and they give it tolerance against abiotic stress in different habitats. Also endophytes. So I admire endophytes. I'm working on endophytes since 2005. So a lot of researches concerning endophytes. What about harmful aspect, causal agent of many diseases of animal, plants, and human? Parasitize useful insects, also like bees. It kills bees. And mycotoxin producer. It's one of the most dangerous things produced by fungi. And aflatoxin is the major cancer disease agent in Egypt. Especially aflatoxin in different food in Egypt. Biodeteriorating agent of monuments. And what about god of fungi? There is a god of fungi, yes. In Mexican, they have a Mexican taluk, god of mushroom. It's a very, very awful face because it's, if you try to collect a mushroom, it will kill you. So, yes. Here are some lichens, mycorrhiza, aspergillosis of the lung of human, and also fungi is finished this leg of pharaonic statue, and here's parasitized insect, plus here's some books published in Arabic and English about this, and here's taluk, the cut of Mexican mushroom. So if you try to take mushroom, it will eat you. Fungi deteriorated Egyptian cultural heritage, yes. And why Egyptian cultural heritage? Because we consider Egypt as the land of civilization. It's dated back many thousand years ago. So fungi and the mummified body of Ramses II is already deteriorated the body of this great king in 1977, when the mummies is transferred to France to doing some analysis there. And they found a lot of fungi. One of them is the Dahlia biensis. It's Basidiomycetes. It's growing on the mummy and growing on the in the linen of the mummy. And this is doing this investigation did by my colleague and my professor Jan Mushaka during this time. And it's a big crisis for the mummy, and they started to treat it in France. And through this study, they recorded 81 species of fungi never recorded in Egypt before. Never recorded in Egypt before. This is the fungus I mentioned before. And they discovered that during the mummification, they add some herbs, some medicinal plants to give a fragrance of the mummy. That is why the fungi came from. They came from these herbs and something like that. Our great professor Farouk El-Baz, he is working for NASA. In 1999, started as a series of investigation concerning what we said ceremony second boot. Because if you visit Egypt, you will find the three pyramids beside each other, and there is a ceremony boot called Khufu boot. Is already one of them investigated in 1954, and it's reconstructed beside the pyramid. This is used by the people there to transfer the body of the dead pharaoh to another area in Upper Egypt called Abydos, to doing a special prayer there. Abydos looks like Kaaba for Muslim right now, the black house. So Abydos for all ancient Egyptian, they doing all the great prayers there on the pharaohs, and back with the boot near the pyramids, and put the body of the pharaoh inside the pyramid, and they completely defragment the boot and pour it in the soil beside the pyramid. So they discovered one in 1954, and the second one is still buried in the sand, and they bring Professor Farouk El-Baz from NASA to start to collect air sample from the unveiled boot. And they asked me and my team to do that in 2012. So I collect air samples, and I'm doing a research about the microorganisms in the air. A place is completely closed for more than 5,000 years ago what you expect to find. Different collection of fungi. Some of them able to deteriorated wood. Some of them is chetomium. Some of them is aspergillus. Some of them are mycotoxin producer. So it's a big problem for us. And here, the first wood which already reconstructed beside the pyramid. And here, me with the Japanese team, we are start to work on the same hole, which already opened by Professor Farouk El-Baz and the NASA. And we start to collect air samples from there to detect the deterioration status of the wood. The wood is very completely deteriorated by fungi, and some newspapers published in Arabic about that. So after that, we transfer to Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun is a golden king of Egypt, and they doing a lot of investigation, and they find that is behind the tomb of Tutankhamun, there is another empty room. They suggested that it's for his mom, and they need to doing some research to collect earth from the unopened or non-opened room, and this is led by Minister of Archaeology in this time and Antiques. And here our team of National Geographic with me during doing some investigation related to how we can collect samples. Are we gonna to send a robot to doing a bore inside the wall, and after that we send special equipment to collect air and to doing swabbing on the wall to analyze DNA. Here is some nice coffins from Abydos, and Abydos, it's called Abydos Middle Cemetery. It's an old holy area in Egypt. Why? Because it's, as I mentioned to you, it looks like a black house in Saudi Arabia for all Muslim, and also it is contains the oldest pyramid built by human, because it's the old pyramids is built by mud bricks, not stone bricks. Okay, so this is the area of our studies there, and here with my professor Robert Blanchett from USA, we are working in the field there, and here we are going to collect air from different localities, and this is the oldest pyramid in Egypt because it's mud bricks, so it's just mud, and we collected sample from there, and different forms of deteriorated wood inside the area. Some of them is completely deteriorated by termites, other by fungi. So you should put on your mind, if you find archaeological wood and this wood is deteriorated by microorganisms, it should be fungus, because the bacteria cannot deteriorate dry wood. It works on wet wood. So fungi working on dry wood only. So a lot of work, and here's some presentation in Michigan and Minnesota concerning our work there. And here is what we talked yesterday. Here is a nice fungus. We find it in a piece of wood. This piece of wood dated back for 6,000 years ago. So this fungus is ascoma type, it's Ascomycetes, and we cannot isolate it in a pure culture. Why? Because the conservists there use the chemical for solidification. They kill the spore of the fungus. So we cannot even extract DNA from it. And here, another nice photo for you. You can notice that is here is the fungal structure inside the cell of the wood. So cell of wood here is completely filled with fungus. So it is one of the methods to detect what we said wood deterioration technique. Is it affected the primary wall or secondary wall? What kind of secondary wall? S1, S2, S3? It's a very important thing. So if you have a woody monuments in South Africa, please do this. Study the role of fungi for deterioration of woody monuments here. You will discover a lot of taxa, very very beneficial for industrial application. Fungus able to degrade wood, able to produce cellulase, lignase, peroxidase, whatever. So you can grow and get directly to your lab and doing more research. Here are studies already published in PLOS ONE many years ago for biodegradation of ancient archaeological wood from the Middle Cemetery at Abydos, Egypt. And here is another photo of the front body sections full with spores inside the wood dated back for 6,000 years ago. Okay. Another SIM photo for a fungus growing on a mummy. So the mummy is all the time is prepared and covered with linen, and the linen is soaked in tar. Okay, so this fungus able to degrade tar. Okay, so potential fungal able to degrade tar covered a mummy. It's able to degrade petroleum hydrocarbons. Sure. Some fungi able to decolorize the stone painting in Egypt, and also able to grow on marble. Here is Cladosporium cladosporidus growing on a marble work dated back to maybe 3,000 years ago. A lot of research we're doing that. Here is a fungus able to grow on calcium carbonate only. Just calcium carbonate as a sole carbon source. So here is Aspergillus niger. I recovered it from pyramids in Giza, and this fungus able to growing on calcium carbonate only, 20% of calcium carbonate. Just calcium carbonate. So you can imagine what fungi do. Egypt is a cradle of mycology. Why? Because it's ancient Egyptian believed that mushrooms were plants of immortality, and they called them a gift from the god Osiris. So we started to document fungi everywhere, in papyrus, medical papyrus, on temples, whatever. So ancient Egyptian using Saccharomyces yeast for fermentation of their bread and for production of beer many years ago. So already they're using fungi for beer, for bread making, and also we are considered as the main discoveries of penicillin. Penicillin is dated back to ancient Egyptian, not for living. So here God Hathor, she's carrying in her hand a basket full with mushroom. You can recognize it easy. So this is all the time what I'm already doing. I'm wearing this t-shirt in international conference, and it is Egypt is the cradle of mycology, and here is Hathor is bearing the basket full with mushroom. So please pass t-shirt for them to see it. Okay, just to see it. Also here, a cluster of mushroom. You can recognize a cluster of mushroom in Etko. And also there is a lady called Veronica Brumova. She is a decorist and stylist in Ukraine. And she's doing a lot of handbags called Hathor handbag model. It very looks like Hathor bag, which is full of mushroom. Scientists analyze this kind of mushroom, and they said it's maybe Psilocybe copiensis. So Psilocybe copiensis is a magic fungus. You know, it's ancient Egyptian beer making facilities founded by archaeologists 5 years ago. They found a big factory for formation and the production of beer and in ancient Egypt, in ancient area. Here is me and our American team in Abydos. Each one carry a beer vial. This beer vial is completely closed. It's a vial closed and maybe dated back for 4,000 years ago. And if you crack it, you will find the beer inside it. Okay? So each one happy. Cheers. Here, what we said, Wadi al-Hitan, Whale Valley. Whale Valley is a site protected by UNESCO, and it contains a huge amount of the deteriorated body of whales. It dated back to 40 million years ago. So you can imagine that is a bio-deterioration of bones. It's easy, because it's a fungus living right now. But what about our investigation in this fungi inside the tissue of bone? We found many fungal structures inside. Some of them is from whales, some of them of marine dinosaurs discovered in Alexandria, dated back to 150 million years ago. So we are working right now to resolve this puzzle. So when you go to the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead, you can find one of the few lines concerning, if you like to meet the god, yes, please eat this mushroom. So this mushroom was Amanita muscaria. So if you eat it, you will go directly to the god. So it's easy way. So they got it in. After that, we go on to analyze some fine artist catalog of Boston Museum, and we find a lot of things related to a mushroom decoration. It's a ear stud. Ear stud is made from metal and stone in ancient Egyptian. They use a decoration related to Amanita muscaria or something like that. Plus that here, please concentrate in this cobra goddess. Cobra is filled with Amanita muscaria. Here is the Amanita muscaria. If you see it, it is the stove of Amanita and the umbrella of Amanita muscaria. And the Amanita muscaria is knowing it's very toxic. So if the ancient Egyptian draw it inside the cobra goddess, it meaning the cobra toxicity came from Amanita muscaria. Okay? And this is preserved in British Museum in London. Different categories of mushroom sign for Shesh, the knowledge goddess, and also here they bought umbrella of the mushroom. It's meaning protection of the human. Here some sign of mushroom. It looks like Politus, something like that. Also, we find the relationship between Ankh. Ankh is an immortality sign, and people, when analyze this, they found this a cross section of mushroom, lateral section of mushroom. Here also, you can recognize that easily. Here, the part is covered with structure looks like gills. So it's very similar to Amanita muscaria and Morchella during take a section from it. This guy is called Stephen Berland. He published some nice work on ethnomycological origin of Egyptian crowns. We have 3 types of crowns: white crown, red crown, triple crown, and he related between the design of the crown and the pen and primordia of the fungus. And he published that in 2005, I think. And here's some work published in Scientific American about how can ancient Egyptian using psilocybin. Modern buza is meaning beer in ancient Egypt, just kind of drink. And we have 2 types of buza, good buza and bad buza. If you left your buza for 2 days, it will be fermented. and you can find your jar fly from Isanun. So, but it's modern and the good buza it's used for diuretic, help people for kidney diseases, whatever. And the ancient Egyptian is doing that a lot, and we have up till now in Tanta, in Mahalla, they using the same ancient technique to prepare buza. But you should drink it after through 1 hour, 2 hours maximum. After that, it's alcoholic. It's alcoholic, so you can. So they prepare it from wheat seeds, wheat grains, and they mix it with the shamsi bread. Shamsi bread is a kind of bread produced by ancient Egyptian. It's just water and flour, and just mix it when they have a kind of Saccharomyces. It's a very, very old Saccharomyces, and they put this bread in the sun. So Shamsi is meaning sun, sunny bread. So it's fermented easily, and they can use it for production of good buza. Here, and after fermentation, you see it start to take care of. And they already use that. What about Egyptian penicillin? Here is one of the most medically prepared. And in his prescription number 82 up to 92, he describes that and recommended application of moldy bread, crumbs, salt, and rags to cure skin abrasions during wars. And this is why we said moldy bread is meaning penicillium growing on in the bread. And if you use it to cure diseases in the skin, it meaning your antibiotic already, which doing that magic effect. And so ancient Egyptian in many prescription using moldy bread for treatment of diseases. And there is a nice paper you can back to it in Microgist, molds in ancient and more recent medicine. You will find all the indications that ancient Egyptian using penicillin. A secret of mummy medicine chest, they already added some lichens, because it's lichens able to produce antimicrobial substance. So they give it to the mummies all the time. What about lichens in Egypt? Yes, we have a good, it is not a huge number, it's about 270 species, and they started to cover by the ancient jewelry box for the queens by lichens. So you can find that easily in museum. The jewelry box is covered with lichens to give it aroma, to give it protection, whatever. And lichens is used by ancient Egyptian to extract the red color, orsine. They take orsine from lichens and depending their drawing, and till now orsine is fixed. You can go to any temple in Egypt dated back to 4,000 years ago, you can find orsine everywhere. So they bring it from lichens. And another lady is working in Sweden for that. Lichen used in traditional medicine, sure, they are using lichens. If you are Christian or Jewish, or if you are interested to read in religion, you remember that is when Prophet Moses take Jewish and during Exodus and go outside Egypt, and Allah send for them manna and salwa. So it's a kind of birds and a kind of fungus. So manna is some guys from Iran started to study what kind of manna. What is a manna? Is it a fungus? Yes, they said it's a fungus and it's lichens. Okay, but Aspergillosis esculenta, who is Muhammad Subahi, is already proved that it is a manna. It is never recorded in Egypt or Sinai or Israel also. So Muhammad is said this is the manna, but after that, manna is not lichens, manna is truffles. So truffles, or what we said manna in Arabic, is already mentioned by Prophet Muhammad many times. It is a kind of fungus. Minna is a kind of fungus, and it's called right now desert truffles. So when we back to this and surveyed the distance between Sinai and Israel, we recorded a lot of truffles. So it's fixed that is manna is truffle, desert truffles. We do a lot of investigation. Here is my pretty hand there. So I'm trying to collect truffles from borders between Egypt and Libya and Egypt and Israel. So we are doing that all the time. Also, Bedouin using mushroom in Egypt for food and for treatment of burns or something like that. Different desert truffles, all in the Arabian Peninsula and the neighboring countries, all of them suffering from overcollection. It will be completely destroyed. Why? Because the climate change affected the plants, and the truffles is an ectomycorrhiza. So if the plants completely disappeared, desert truffles completely disappear. How many species of fungi are there in modern Egypt? I started my survey in 2000, and I finished it 2010 for 10 years, and collect all literature from all sources, and I went to all temples if I can, and I started my study since 1813, and I collected huge amount of data. Up till now, it's about 2,500 species of fungi recorded in Egypt. It is not that large species in comparison with South Africa or any other due to the arid climate there. But we started to do that, and we introduced even a new species introduced by me and my professor, and all the time we are doing that. And here is Delali is the writer of La Description d'Égypte, the book La Description of Egypt, which already one of the French invader during the occupation of Egypt by French. They produced a series of books for description of geography, for biology of Egypt. He is first one described the macrofungus from Egypt in 1799. So how we can doing a strategy for fungal conservation in Egypt? It is a big problem, because in Egypt they all the time look for fungi as they are plants. So if you like to go to him, Professor, please conserve fungi. He said, fungi? We are conserving plant, fungi under plant. I said, no. So it is a problem. So if you upside the t-shirt with you right now, you will find I bought this sticker on my bag for that shirt. Fungi are orphans of Rio, because it's Rio Convention never respect fungi. Rio Convention respect the plants and animals. They overlook the fungi. They try to protect the animal and the plant, but never try to put hand for fungi. Why? I don't know. But fungi considered the most diverse organisms after insect. So we're doing a lot of looping groups. We press on the even, and Marika remembers that. We press on the CBD, Convention of Biological Diversity Office, and even they select the logo of biodiversity decade from 2010 up to 2020 without fungus. They bought human, they bought whale, they bought bee, they bought beer. What about fungi? No way. So the strategy needed understanding and documenting fungal diversity, and I hope, okay, I hope everything is going great also with South Africa in this object, understanding and documenting fungal diversity, conserving fungal diversity, using fungal diversity, sustainability, promoting education, awareness about fungal diversity, building capacity for conservation of fungi. Plus that, misrepresentation of fungi or plant, absence of adequate fungal documentation, limited checklist updates. You should have updated checklist to know what you need to conserve. If you not have this checklist, so why you go to conserve them? You need to know the numbers. We already founded Arab Society for Fungal Conservation 2013, and we already decreed Egypt National Fungus Day, started in 2016, and we already selected 20th of February, the date where the sun lights the face of Ramses II in Aswan temple. So it's a dedication for the rule of ancient Egyptian for documentation of fungi. We're doing a lot of activities concerning fungal conservation and Fungus Day till this year, and while we did also the Egypt Mycologist Network. I hope Marika and other mycologists in this university can lead that South African Mycologist Network to have all data of South African. Why? Because it's a real need in 2020 to know everyone which is the specialization, how you can contact them. Also, I am already doing a great work with Iraqi mycologists. I founded Iraqi Mycologist Network, and I founded Algerian Mycologist Network, and after that, I asked a friend, she is a painter from Iran, to attract the attention of a student, attention of school children for conservation of fungi by nice painting and related between ancient Egypt and mushroom. All the time we're doing that. Her name is Farouz Shafi'i, and she is an Iranian painter. She's doing a great work for fungal conservation. Also, she painted me, looks like. And annual Fungus Day of Africa, we just decreed it this May. And Somia and Marika present a great work in this. So right now, Africa has annual Fungus Day. We celebrate it in 20th of May each year. Why 20th of May? Because the first day, the first date for emerging of African Union in Ethiopia. So we select that as all Africa is one hand to protect fungi. This is conclusion, and please answer. How to apply fungal conservation concept along with ethnomycology and overcollection? You should know if you are over-collected fungi, some species will completely disappear. Will completely disappear. And if you consider hunting fungi is a foray, so let me give fungi guns and we will see the result immediately. It is not a foray. You are a bad creator going to collect all these species and we say, I'm a foray. It is not fair. Finally, Egypt is a cradle of mycology. Thank you all, and it's my big pleasure to be here with all of you. Thank you. By the end of this presentation, we are dedicated the honorary membership for Dr. Marika Greisenholt, because she supports fungi everywhere in Egypt and in Africa, and I hope it's supported for me too.
Okay, now I'm completely baffled and I can't say anything.
Thank you all. So any question? I'm already under your... so I have these two also, so if anyone like to have it, okay. 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 Tomorrow I will give you. Okay, I remember.
We just have a practical at 2. If you have any questions, we're going to move over to the committee room and you can discuss anything you want to have with him. It was an awesome talk. Thank you.
Can I have one thing, please? Can I have a photo with all of you?
Yes.
A group photo after this presentation?